Hey everybody, I'm not in the shot right now. You're looking at Maurika. Today we're coming to you from the Hill 3D scanning studio as I continue to not get on camera. And today we're going to be doing some really cool 3D scanning. Hey, look at that. Today we're going to be doing some 3D scanning using the new iPad Pro, which has awesome 3D scanning capability. You can see behind me our object of interest for the day. We're going to talk a lot about sneakers and the history of signature sneakers. And I'm joined today by Maurika. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Maurika Smutherman. I'm a graduate student here in the PhD program, Communication, Rhetoric, and Digital Media. And I'm also a graduate assistant in the Digital Media Lab. So I'm really interested in sneakers. I ironically don't have sneakers on today, which I don't think you can see, but usually I'm wearing sneakers like every single day. And this is a part of a larger project that I'm trying to do focused on Black feminist technologies, or what I'm calling Black feminist technologies, and starting with a sneaker for that.
What shoe are we looking at?
So this shoe in particular is one of Sheryl Swoop's signature releases. And Sheryl Swoopes, if you don't know, is a former WNBA player, the first signed WNBA player, also subsequently the first African-American woman to be signed to the WNBA. And she was the first Black woman to have her own signature shoe, as well as the first woman to have her own signature shoe. So the shoe that we're looking at right now is called the Nike Air Tuned, or the Nike Tuned Zoom, sorry. And this is a version of the Air Swoops. So you'll see there are different versions of the shoe. This one is pretty rare. I think she wore this one when she was competing in the Olympics, and it originally came out in 1997, but this particular shoe is from 1999. So it's very vintage, pretty old, and it's still in pretty good shape as well. So we're gonna be scanning this shoe today. I'm really excited about it. I do kind of wanna, before I start, kind of talk about like the context of this project and why I'm drawn to this particular sneaker as a Black feminist technology. So one of the things that I'm kind of working through in a class I'm taking about immersion technologies is how archiving and 3D scanning can be used for very rare objects such as these. And in particular, I'm interested in archiving technologies that are related to the production of space and the alteration of space and place for Black women. And I believe that this shoe is one of those Black feminist technologies because it did create a new space for Black women to have signature shoes, as well as to become mobile in the game, because this shoe in particular has a lot of innovative technology for the time. So of course, everybody knows about Air Jordans, but not a lot of people know about the Air Swoops. So I think that it's a really important shoe to talk about and to archive, just to make sure that people can access this information and knowledge. I'm going to switch over and show the view from the iPad that's in your hand right now. I'm definitely going to swing to the wrong camera at first. There, I promised. All right, so what you're seeing now is the view of the shoe through an app called Polycam. We're on an iPad right now, so you can see everything on my screen. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get as many clear images as I can of this shoe. And I'm going to try to get it like a 360-degree angle. So I'm going to choose my settings first. I want this to, so basically the 3D model is bringing together all of the different still images that I'm about to take. And I think the max is 250, so I'm going to try to get as close to 250 as I can. This is a really kind of like particular process, so I'm going to try to make sure that I can get as many good angles of the most important parts of the shoe as possible so that it actually comes out looking close to the actual shoe.
While Maurika is going through the process of creating a 3D scan, I'll talk a little bit about the device that's in her hand. iPad Pros are available at any Library Ask Us desk at Hill Library, Hunt Library. If you place a special request saying you'd like to use it as a 3D scanner, we have a license to Polycam. It's also relatively affordable if you own an iPad as well, but we've paid for a license for everyone here at State. So if you use the special request form on your library's website, we can set up a scanning iPad for you for pickup and a 7-day checkout by default. Really handy to be able to use this Polycam application, which is also available on Android as well through the Google Play Store. So you can see Maurika is attempting to isolate the shoe so it takes up as much of the fulcrum, as much of the view of the camera as possible. I'm going to help her by actually getting out of her way a little bit here. And these up-close photos, taking photos from all possible angles, these are just giving the computer a really good view of the object we're asking it to create a 3D model of. This is an automated form of a process we call photogrammetry. Photogrammetry, even 5 or 6 years ago, was something that really could only be done on bleeding edge computing and graphics cards that would subsequently become pretty hard to buy because of crypto mining and just the presence of a lot more GPU heavy activities in gaming and art. But it's pretty amazing that it can run on an iPad now in a really fast application. So you'll see as we upload these 250 photos to the cloud and wait for the 3D model to be sent back to us. There are great applications if you want a little bit more hands-on control of the 3D models you're creating. Reality Capture is owned by Epic Games and has been made free for educational use. So if you have a .edu email address, as many of our viewers do, I'm sure, you can acquire free access to Reality Capture, for example. I'm going to try a bold camera change here. Producer, I am not.
And I'm also trying to get the top of the shoe as well. We're not going to take images of the bottom just because we don't need it for what we're doing today, but so right now I'm at roughly 185 still images.
You can see those images populating in the bottom right corner if you're following along on Maurika's screen here. And she's using the motion sensitive mode, so she doesn't have to press the shutter each time when the iPad has changed orientation sufficiently, the program automatically hits the shutter for you. So it feels a little more like shooting a video.
And the shoe definitely has a lot of curves and different materials, so I'm trying to get as close as I can to those. All right, we're at 250.
Go. And so we'll follow along entirely on Maurika's screen here. If you talk us through the button presses, we just pressed done.
So I just pressed done, and now I'm going to actually go ahead and export this. So I have all of my images, which you can see on the screen. I believe last time we did, what, full?
Full or raw, yeah. How about, you want to hit the which detail setting should I use button? I love this. So there are 4 detail settings in Polycam. The first is this optimized. This is really great if you're making a mobile game or some 3D model that has to be able to display on very weak computers, such as cell phones. We don't use this very often. The second setting is medium. So you can see they indicate the amount of computing effort that's going into the geometry, as well as the amount that's going into the quality of like the coloration of the model. Here we've really we care more about texture, but remaining relatively efficient in how we make the 3D model. Full is probably the setting we use most often because it is the highest total computing into a combination of geometry and texture. If you're making a video game and using Polycam, this is probably the setting you want to use because it creates several different material textures. Should we do it? Should we talk about what ambient occlusion is?
Sure.
Let's do it. Okay, so the geometry of a 3D model is essentially a shape that's made with a series of triangles called polygons. It can also be squares now. Wow, the world's crazy. But what makes Mario look like Mario and gives him his red hat versus the complexion color, the color of his hair. That's texturing, right? It's what makes a sculpture. It makes not every 3D model look like a sculpture, right? And here we are producing the albedo texture, which is the actual just raw color, as well as an ambient occlusion map, a normal map, and a roughness map. And without like doing graphics 101, these give the information to the computer on how the model should be represented when light encounters them at different angles. So your normal map shows bumpiness. It's also called a bump map. The roughness map can show like how a piece of aluminum is different than a piece of brushed steel, like the texture that's on the surface there. And ambient occlusion is mostly about nooks and crannies, when light is like getting into a little cavern on the surface of something, how it should act. And then we have one last setting, which is our raw setting. And this is going to put all of its effort towards the albedo texture. So it will really, really work hard on getting the 3D contours correct, but won't generate normal maps or things that might look really good in a really high-end game engine. Those can be created later. If you watch some of our past streams on using Blender, hopefully I'm going to try throwing cameras here. If you watch some of our past streams on using Blender, you can use Blender for material mapping and for material editing, and you can use an albedo texture to actually generate normal maps or AO maps or roughness maps. So if you're using Polycam in your own life for really high quality 3D models, you probably want to use the raw setting and then go and make your materials later. But today we probably care a little bit more about the full mode. Picture in picture. Oh man, I keep doing that. We just see the same camera twice. There we go, okay. So let's select that raw, I think. And I think we definitely want to object mask, right?
Oh yeah.
Do you want to talk about what object masking does here?
So object masking is going to isolate the shoe from everything else around it so that we only get the shoe, basically, and nothing else.
It's like the magic lasso tool in Photoshop, right?
Exactly.
So hopefully that'll reduce. I know my elbow was moving around in the background in some of those photos. You really want the scene to stay as still as possible, and I probably screwed that up for us. So hopefully the object mask will help us there.
We shall see. So I am going to go ahead and click on upload and process, and it says it's not connected to the internet.
Let's go to a screen that's not showing the iPad, and I'll get us connected here. I wish I had some of that great State of Sound music playing right now. State of Sound by the NC State Libraries. Make media. Are you working on State of Sound stuff, Maurika?
I'm not, but I'm very interested in learning more about it. They're actually having a podcast workshop in the Digital Media Lab today, so we're offering that service for sure. If any students, faculty, I mean anyone on campus or in the campus community, come out to the Digital Media Lab if you have media-related projects that you're doing, anything dealing with technology. I know that a lot of students do podcast projects throughout the semester, and that's one of the most popular final projects that students come into the Digital Media Lab for. So please stop by if you ever need assistance with that. We have all of the technology, we have all of the hardware and software that you need. Thank you. All right, so we can see in real time how quickly you can connect to the Wi-Fi here. So let's go ahead and upload and process this. And it's going to actually be pretty quick for what we're doing. So I think you said it shouldn't take any more than 10 minutes?
Yeah, usually 10 to 15 minutes. You'll see the final model pop up in your little timeline there. And you can, once it's hit this processing stage, we can just start doing a second scan. So I'd say that's probably what we should do, just a backup scan in case this first one didn't work out very well.
All right, so I'm definitely gonna try to make this one really good. So we're again just going to go through the same process, trying to get as many clear, still images as we can of the shoe. And lighting is very important with projects like these. So, I mean, someone who has a background in photography would surely be able to create an optimal setup for this.
Yeah, you can see we're here in the 3D scanning studio at Hill Library. This is a space we use for consultations around photography and photogrammetry, and obviously 3D scanning. If you find yourself working on anything in any of those disciplines, we have some great resources for you here at the library. We encourage you to fill out a technology consultation on your library website to meet with one of our consultants. As anyone who has started a company knows, consultation time is very expensive generally, but you are provided it for free from your digital media and other librarians here at the libraries. So use these resources.
And something that I think is really cool about this shoe is how it has her name on it. And also on the back tag, how you can see the double S's. I think that's just a really great detail. Another amazing thing is how well these shoes held up from the 90s. So if you are into sneakers and sneaker culture like I am, then you know that the materials that they use for more newer shoes are not the same. So this is a really high quality sneaker.
Are newer sneakers supposed to hold up longer for that reason?
Well, I would say that actually the older sneakers end up holding up a little bit longer. My husband has a far bigger sneaker collection than I do, and some of the older sneakers that he has, even though over time there is the chance of separation or yellowing and other things that you might have to kind of do some maintenance to correct, but for sure, I've had sneakers that I've bought that were released in 2018 and they're already crumbling, so it's interesting. And I will also say that these shoes are very hard to find. There are newer versions of the Air Swoops, so you can buy them a re-release of the sneaker. But as far as getting the older ones, the ones that came out in the 90s, it's pretty difficult to find. So I had to find these shoes on eBay. And if you're into these types of sneakers, I would recommend that you try to go find some as soon as possible before they're gone. But in the meantime, you can always interact with our 3D scan.
Maurika and I were looking at sketchfab.com recently, which is one of the biggest inventories of 3D models on the internet. And we were marveling at how sneaker culture is alive and well on there. Lots of Air Jordan scans, some other classic shoes. Okay, so here we see our processing screen again. What do you think? Same scan settings?
Well, I guess, yeah, let's just go ahead and use the same settings just to see.
While we wait for that to upload, wanted to take a look at some library resources with y'all. So here we see our, I'm actually seeing that on screen. Oh, hi, hello. So you can see the resources that we are working with here. We have our scanning iPad Pro, which is in our hands here. And if you just type scanning iPad, 3D scanning, iPad Pro, anything into our really great search bar here in the libraries, you'll see a little bit of information about where to use this device, and a staff contact who can help you with that. For any of our technology lending devices, let's visit my favorite page on the library's website. Here's our tech lending inventory. You can see all of the devices that we have available for all our members of the campus community here. I can just like scroll on this longer than I can think of anything to say while scrolling out over that many devices. We have a really wide range of devices, and every single one of these is ready for y'all to use. If you would like help using these pieces of technology, we have consultants working 7 days a week around these topics, and we're really happy to see your request for a consultation come in. We can dispatch it to the correct staff member. That's right at lib.ncsu.edu/tech-consultation. And I'll drop that in the chat in just a moment here. A little bit of lag between my mouse and that display. And
I was pretty amazed at how easy it is to check things out from tech lending. Like today I checked out a podcasting kit and all I had to do was walk up and request it.
And it's as easy as just filling out this form describing the iPad Scanning Pro. Not even what's called. Our experts would know what you're talking about there, and let us know a little bit about the work you're doing, why this is an academic or instructional need for a special request, and we'll get back to you via email on where you can pick that device up. Okay, let's swing back over and see maybe if our first scan has processed.
It has.
Oh, very exciting.
All right, so let's check it out. We don't have the bottom, so.
No pictures means no model, right? We don't have a glass table that we shot from beneath or anything. But wow, that detail's awesome.
Yeah, you can see like this material on the shoe was actually cracking, and you can see that in the 3D scan. You can see tag. This looks really good. And you can see how it was able to capture that texture in the shoe as well, which is really cool. I feel like I can reach out and touch it.
Do you want to click the AR button in the top right corner? I love this feature. If you're just looking to make like a video for social media or something, you honestly can do it right on device, because you can look at the shoe right in front of you there. You can see me. I can touch the shoe. There we go. Thanks. Thank you for indulging my my AR ask. So we can probably upload this, right?
Definitely.
Let's do a GLTF. That's my favorite file format. If you're looking to 3D print, you can 3D print these files pretty directly, actually, by exporting an STL file. And I'm going to switch away from the iPad for a second. Just throw it anywhere in my drive. I'll see it pop up.
Okay. And the other one is done processing as well. It looks pretty similar.
Back over here. Okay, just download this model. Yeah, if you want to throw the other one right in the drive, I'm not even going to switch over to the iPad for it. Oh, I have a lot of windows open right now.
All right, both of those should be in there.
Perfect. I'll go grab those. Very annoying. They have the same name, but oh no, yeah. Yeah, I was wishing we did this shot earlier. There you go. Perfect.
Just so we have it.
There's also a web application for Polycam. If any of you are photographers and would like to use your DSLR to take these photos, you can batch upload individual photos. And let's get there we go. Okay, so I can actually see what I'm doing on the screen now. I was trying to control a monitor that doesn't exist, basically. All right, and let's go to show my screen here. Oh no, we're going to forever. All right, let's show actually how this got made. I'm going to launch Blender from I launch it from Steam. You can see in my Steam library here. There's plenty of machines all over our libraries that have Blender, and I'm happy to show them to you. If you go to lib.ncsu.edu/software, this is another one of my favorite libraries web pages, and type any application that we have anywhere in the library. There's about 150 applications we keep track of like this, and you can see the locations where you can use these applications. So in this case, Blender is really optimized for higher end graphics machines. So we have them at some specialty media desktops within the Learning Commons, as well as in our Digital Media Lab, our Digital Media Lab Studio, and our VR Studio, and also the Data Experience Lab. So lots of options, both at Hill and Hunt, on where to use this application. I'm launching it from Steam here in the 3D Scanning Studio. Here's Blender. I'm going to show a 5-second tutorial on how you become a Blender designer. So you click this default cube that's in the middle of the screen and you delete it, and that's it. You now know how to use Blender. It's the most important thing we do with Blender. Let's do a little bit more interesting screen cap. I totally know what I'm doing with OBS. Okay, that might be the exact same camera I was on before. And here we're in Blender. Okay, so I have my shoe that Maurika scanned earlier on this machine. I downloaded it from Drive. So I'm going to do import GLB, GLTF. I'm just going to go into my downloads where we have it. Did you like the first or second one we scanned better?
I think I liked the first one better.
Cool. And then I'm going to import this GLTF. I was talking earlier about the impact that textures have on a model. And this is a non-textured view. I'm going to click up in the top right corner to get a simple texture view. This is not actually render quality. I'll show you the render preview. We're using Eevee for you Blender nerds. But here you can see with live lighting what that render looks like. Pretty good. And here, if I switch to cycles, I'll probably hear my GPU turn on. And you can see the preview of a higher end render. So we'll probably render in cycles a little bit later with our GPU, not with our CPU. But we don't need to be looking at it in the highest render at all times. It's just going to slow the machine down. So let's go to this L-beta texture. I'm going to click the shoe. Some of my hotkeys aren't going to work on this machine. So got that leveled there. So what we're going to be doing, we're very interested in animating this shoe in Blender. So we're going to render a video out eventually. So let's get our camera positioned. We're going to render a very simple little demo here. So we did a little bit of graphic design earlier and created a little template, this blacked out kind of monochrome template that we thought the colors would pop against for making an animated GIF of this 3D model. So I'm also going to import that into our scene. We'll import that as I'm looking for a thing that I think might be not important. File, I want to import as a plane. Oh yeah, here we go. Background image. Can we see, we had it like superimposed against that there. And now I'm going to click this camera icon. That'll show the view from the camera in the scene. And we are trying to shoot a portrait orientation. So we need to click the camera. We need to go to the camera settings. The scene settings, rather. And what is this aspect ratio? It is 1013 by 1800. Everybody's favorite aspect ratio, the one we all use all the time. Okay, and then when I'm in the viewport here, and sorry that we're not offering a more comprehensive Blender walkthrough. Hey, if you're interested in a really comprehensive Blender walkthrough, we have a great YouTube tutorial by our friends Mitch and Jeff, where they walk through the entire process of modeling a video of a donut from this square all the way through some really compelling donut models in Blender. And that is right on our library's video. Just type Blender, Krispy Kreme, anything in this kind of ballpark, and I'm sure our quick search is going to bring that up really quickly for you. I love this tutorial. I've watched their recording of this tutorial back to myself to remind myself of some Blender basics in the past. They do a really good job with that. So I'm going to show you my favorite Blender hotkey, which is, if you can arrange something kind of at the center of the screen how you want it, then Control, Alt, and 0 on the number pad will snap the camera to what you were viewing in the viewport, which really handy to me because I do not want to move that little camera around. And now you can see the outline of where our camera is against that background image. I think it's getting pretty close. I need to probably slide it over just a little, but so. I feel almost like the image isn't quite straight. Let's check that. So I can go to the, I don't want to see any number but 0, 90, or 180 there. That's straight now, okay. And then we'll check what it looks like from the camera view. That's much more centered. So scroll back a little. And this is animating, folks. It's just moving stuff around little by little. Holding shift to move beyond it. Really close. Demo? Oh no, that's our dotted line right here, so I can bring it into, now that we're close enough, I don't feel like I'm going to deform this image too much.
And for someone who has absolutely no experience in Blender, if I really wanted to just play around with it, I could just come into the VR studio.
Yeah, and we have amazing computing for working with it. As I was saying, Blender is requires a little more of your computer than a lot of other applications you might open every day. And so using those really high-end machines in the VR studio is a great way to get your feet wet in it. And Blender is fully open source and fully free, which is a huge advantage for students versus some other more proprietary pieces of technology. Even if you have a license to something while you're here at State, it doesn't always mean that that'll be true when you leave. What did I just do to the view here? Save our project here so that we don't lose our progress.
It doesn't save automatically?
Not until you've saved once.
Okay.
Swoops with an E. I keep skipping past the E every time I write her name out.
And her name is so ironic because, I mean...
Yeah, it's like somebody being named Basket or something.
Exactly, yeah. And for anyone who's interested in finding out more about Cheryl Swoops, she is on Instagram and on Twitter. I believe her Instagram handle is airswoops22. So if you want to follow her and check out all of her amazing accomplishments.
Oh, I could not find that little box that unfull screened me there in Blender. I don't know that I've ever gotten caught in that loop before. Okay, here's what our camera's currently seeing. If I just make the background the same color as this black color here, it'll basically work that out for us and we won't have to be obsessed with the crop. We also could do something like this. We're going to add a plane. Transform it by 90 degrees in the, or by 90 degrees in the Y. Scale it a bunch. Move it down here.
I do like how the interface, or at least the workspace, is kind of similar to other photo editing apps. So if you've used anything like that before, well, I guess I shouldn't say other photo editing apps, but just photo editing apps.
Yeah, Blender is totally trying to compete with pieces of software that do not compete with one another. And so it ends up like kind of merging different workflows, which is super convenient if you're like coming to it from another direction. I realized I can do a hack here. Let's just get the exact same shade of black by using that and then scaling it out so it's really wide. And this is a hacky way to do this. Not gonna lie. Looks pretty good though.
Works.
Move that up there. So now we can start dealing with our shoe. Here I'm going to transform that. It just looks a little overwhelmed by the size of the shot. So let's maybe take that to what, like 25% bigger, maybe a little less.
Let's see what it looks like.
It's not bad. Let's do render an image just to see how we like it. So this is going to take the I think it populates background last. I think I need to change the camera settings. So I needed to check this box so it sees background images, because otherwise it just thinks it's a like design tool for us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'll render image again. This might actually end up working for us if I just add it on here.
So this is showing us what the final image would look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, preview of it. You can see the lighting is super unoptimized still, and a little confused on why it's making it black but not. It might literally be that this just isn't in the right place there. Stupid Blender, my favorite piece of software. Just out of curiosity, what happens if we delete both of these? I'm doing something wrong, Maurika.
Well, I wish I had any type of support. All I can give is like.
Let's animate just the shoe. Let's come back to the background question. Okay, so we've got our shoe here, and we wanted to give it like kind of a bob and a full spin. So we're going to click this animation tab here, and we declare how long our animation, how many frames our animation is. So just because circles, let's go 360 frames. And that way we can make it basically do a degree a second. So in frame 1, we will have this transformation here. I'm going to keyframe all of the rotations. We don't need to do anything to the scale because we're not going to change it. I am going to mess with the location a bit, but let's not do that yet. Let's go to 181. And oh, I don't like working in quaternions if I don't have to.
What is that?
Quaternions are a field of are a tool that's useful in a field of geometry where you are dealing with a fourth degree of movement, a fourth plane of movement. When you do game math for the game physics, it becomes really useful versus like Euler, XYZ, that we're all probably a lot more used to thinking in. But even, don't let game devs trick you. Even the best ones are using a little calculator that turns quaternions into Eulers for them. So we've got this locked at this zeroed out position here, and then I got to remember X, Y, Z in Blender. So Blender's like a Y up system. Go to 0, please. So here, there we go. Okay. So let's go. I think it's going to be like 170 or negative 180. Yep. And we can keyframe that. On frame 1, we didn't actually lock it again after switching back. So I can lock that. And animating is that easy. We just declared 2 keyframes, and now it's going to stop because it doesn't know what to do in this back half, and it's just when it loops, it's going to just snap back to that original position, which isn't very good. So now we go to the last frame, which is 360, and we go back to 0 here. Now, whether that's going to do, yeah, it's changing direction right now, right? So there's a way you can cheat this by just going to like negative 0.01. And by negative 0.01, I mean regular 0.001. And then this, you can see our viewport on the left. Really satisfying with the light moving across it, right? It's why doing it in something like Blender is worthwhile.
I'm just amazed at how fast this was.
I think I kind of like the change in direction at the midway point.
I like it too. It's different. It looks cool.
And we've been viewing it just in the low color mode, or in this mode, but do that.
Oh,
it's
wow.
kind of cool. We can like individually, so we can see like the live render here. So we're using cycles and still looking pretty good over here. Eevee is the real-time renderer, so it's like meant to, what you see is what you get at real time, but cycles takes like, you know, depending on what you're rendering, multiple times longer to pre-render it than it would take to do it as if it was a game. But so we can mess with lighting and kind of make sure we get the look we want. I like this blacked out viewer background because it kind of simulates what we'll be seeing it against later, but we definitely need to bring the light up. So we have a pre-built light in the scene. I'll go to the light settings, and like we can just, as like a simple demo, change that to like a bright red. We can give like, change the hue of the light. there, so like make it a little
So
warmer
cool
or
to see in
something.
real time.
Yeah, and you can just like, you can always kind of just screen cap yourself working in that viewport if you're doing something that doesn't need to be super high res, and some of these edits can turn themselves into like cool effects, sort of. We can try like a sunlight instead and bring that way down.
So would this be kind of like natural lighting, or?
Yeah, I think that's the goal, is that you'd be trying to recreate it. But like a sun, it's more the shape of these lights. So like
Okay.
a point light is like a bright light bulb where it's throwing light in all 360 by 360. A sun is like a type of hemispheric light in Blender, I believe. So it's as if the light itself was curved like a semisphere. Spotlight obviously has that throw path, and you can control the like radius of that light and stuff. Not really necessarily, yeah, you can change like the spotlight shape. So you could like theoretically.
And if you wanted to animate that, you could, like, you could.
Yeah, you
open
could,
on
yeah.
there.
Like I could, I'll just do a silly version of it, but like. Okay, that's hard to do while it's running. But like, if we could start with like a really tight light there. And you can do like a searchlight effect like that too.
Oh yeah, that's really cool. I can see why people use this, basically.
Yeah, a little annoying to deal with sometimes, but man, it is powerful. So like that effect seems to kind of like what we want. So like we could throw this back to like, we can lock this setting here, take it to the end of our loop. This is just like a thing I always do. I lock it, pin it at the two sides to create a loop, and then go to like some midpoint and make that like our full light. I don't really know what blend in this circumstances. Oh, I get it. It's like the blending of the multiple lights within the searchlight. That's kind of cool. So, what am I to do? Kind of compelling. We
Really
could
like cinematic.
crank that way up too, and now the light will be a lot more intense on the spots that's showing. But good luck making that video with the actual shoe, right? Like that's a lot of light control that you'd have to do in your studio to get that shot. I'm gonna get rid of that though, just because it's not really what we're trying to do.
It would definitely take a while with like manually doing that.
I see where people do, I like watching people do like the constituent shots for product photography. For that reason, of them like dropping stuff on tables or like splashing the water that you'll see at the super slow-mo, because it's amazing how, yeah, you only have to think about what's inside the shot of the camera, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's go back to what we should be doing. Let's get the little, we talked about a little bob to it as well. So let's do something around that idea. We can make sure we're selecting the shoe. I was about to start animating the location of the light on accident. And here, I'm going to do the same thing with location, where I'm locking it at the front and back. And then here it might be more of a like every 60 frames. I really like 360. I like picking nice round numbers for my loops for this reason. Like I know that 60 is a sixth, so here we can, I don't know, like what's the amplitude of our curve? Like 0.25. Oh, wrong dimension. I guess I can also just move it and see what it looks right. So I don't think we want to go any higher than that, maybe.
Yeah.
So like, let's say it's 0.3 actually. And we'll lock that. And then we'll go to 120. Go to minus 0.3. Then we'll go to 180, which will also be already animated on a little bit. And we'll go back to 0.3. And we'll go to 240. I keep forgetting what the number I'm counting by is. And we'll go to negative 0.3. And we'll go to 300. I can also type that number down here. So when you're dealing with like 15,000 frames, you can actually find the thing you're looking for. Was our last one positive or negative?
I think it was positive.
Okay. And then 360 will hit the end, so let's.
Yeah, that's cool. Looks like someone is, I mean, it looks like it's floating, but.
All just via keyframing. And you can obviously add a little nuance, like if there's easings, you could use easings for this and stuff too, but like we're not here to talk about quadratics. So let's go back to dealing with lighting a little bit. I'm gonna like delete our scene light. And I'm gonna add a new scene light because I just like screwed the other one up a little bit. So, and you can see we have our different light objects here. Whoa, that's like a weird effect. The light is inside the shoe. I think we're seeing the points where the light is breaking the mesh and going outside the shoe. That's like odd. But that's like a great example of how animating a light can look good. Like, I actually really like that shot on that. Do like that location, and then want to do our, what else does 360 divide by? It divides by, we can go on the 120s, I guess, and just do like a little, because light, you kind of want to move it slower sometimes. So we'll just find another spot we think looks good. Go.
So you can really isolate the light the way you want to. That's an amazing amount of control.
And we can do lots of different lights too. So like, I could do something like this. Let's actually call that 1.2. And then go to 240. Do negative 1.2. And go to 360 and get our loop. And while that's looping, I can add a sunlight, so it's not our only way of seeing it.
It literally looks like light is peeking through a window in some places.
Yeah, it's about like the look you're going for, right? Like if you want it to look like a real shoe, I don't know that this accomplishes it 100%, but like it looks cool.
Yeah.
So
it's a shoe.
it is a shoe. And then just move that off center a bit. So here I'm changing, like this is another thing that can be keyframed, by the way.
making me think about the videos of like flowers blooming, like those time-lapse videos.
Here, I'm just trying to create like some nuanced lighting. Oh, I love it. That's what I was kind of trying to create, that we see that. Is there a name for that part that you put your finger in when you're pulling the shoe tight?
I don't know if it's called like the tag or the... Yeah, you're testing my knowledge of sneakers right now.
But there's this moment where you see the light cast by it, or the shadow cast by it, that I find very satisfying there.
That looks realistic right at that spot.
I'm going to copy and paste those, and then you can't move things while you're animating. It always throws me off that if the timeline is running, you can't see the little gimbals. Okay, that's like 4 spotlights pointing 90 degrees off from each other.
That's amazing.
It's pretty clean.
Yeah, it looks way better than it did before.
And animating on the 60s versus the 120s gives you this moment where you think you've seen the loop, but you actually are only like halfway through it, where it kind of jumps off at the 0 frame, which I like. Some people don't like that look, but whatever. We can change the color of the suns, so we could go with like and you don't really want to move these very far often, so like just even a slight move towards like a yellow there is gonna give a lot, and then like you kind of want to move them in different color spaces, so like a little bit of a pink hue there, then like a little bit of like blue light, and then the last one you can go with like green lighting. And that can help, like as it moves through, you're getting like a little bit of different color space across it. But for product photography, sometimes you like to just use like a raw white light because you don't want to like discolor the object you're shooting. So, but regardless, let's get a render of this, I guess.
So you can like export this as a GIF, or?
Yeah, probably as a video.
Okay.
I think that gets us in the world of extensions for Blender. Blender is a hyper modifiable piece of software because it's mostly because it's open source. So there are extensions people have to like render out as GIFs. I don't think it's a supported like default render though. If you work with audio, you can render just the audio of a scene so that you don't have to, it pretty much mutes your video on something. People use Blender physics engine to create audio too.
I was going to ask, like, why would you be
crash a realistic car into a realistic car and have it emit audio events?
Oh, okay.
So you have physically derived audio.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
pretty wacky. It's a little counterintuitive to do, but it's like you're just using the capability. Like there's not many audio engines that like use your GPU to the degree that Blender does, so I think that's why. Okay, here I'm going to switch to cycles because I'm a nerd, and I'm going to render animation, and we'll see some frames get rendered. We'll see if it's going to take too long to realistically use, because frames take like 6 seconds to paint sometimes in cycles. And we've already determined this is going to take too long. If we say. But great thing to do on the VR Studio because our machines render really quickly. You can render something that takes you all week in like an hour. We'll do it. We'll render in Eevee then. Yeah, and here you can see we're already 30 frames in instead of a 30th of a frame in. But it's going to look a lot better in this render than it did in the preview. I forgot to check if we're rendering with that black background. If we are, like this gets you to the point where I personally think it's easier to render your video in Blender and then just impose the text over that video in another video editor.
Okay.
But you could render with a transparent background.
Oh, and then you could just put it on put anything back there. Okay.
Which gets you to how people use this for VFX. So if you had like a clip of yourself, I'm gonna switch camera for this. So like, let's say I wanted to shoot, let's say I had like a camera in front of me, you know, like imagine I had a camera in front of me right now. And I wanted to shoot like that thing we just rendered out as like a VFX. You know, this is like when Iron Man shoots the beam, right? Like they shot the video of whoever's playing Iron Man, like holding their hand out and nothing happened and everyone reacts as if it happens. And then you isolate the laser beam and you just superimpose one against the other, right? So like I could like shoot this clip right now. If somebody wants to grab it from the stream, you're more than welcome to. And you could like overlay this thing that we're rendering right now, like over my palm, and it would look like I have this spinning in my palm, right?
Oh, wow.
And that's the power of transparent video. Because like, I don't know, I don't think we're used to thinking about video as like being able to immediately have transparency all the time. But, you know, our iPhones can isolate images from their background now. We're like very close to where it's just gonna be a tap it to take the video background out.
Cool stuff.
Okay, back to watching something render. Slash back to it being rendered and done. Let's open this up. Oh yeah, it's really annoying to remember where your destination is for your renders. If you ever are like, oh man, I thought I rendered that, where'd it go? You set that output destination in this little output properties in Blender. So I have mine set to videos. Let's do that. There's all my constituent frames. And did I not? Oh, I had the wrong box checked. Okay, don't be like me. This is a stupid Blender default. I don't know why it does this. It renders your, I do know why it does it, so you can edit the individual frames and get a higher frame rate. But I had PNG selected. So I'm just gonna go back and change that to MPEG. RGB color space. So our number of frames is determined. So like higher frame rate just means shorter file, shorter video. But like that 24 seemed pretty good to me. Okay, rendering again.
Yay, we get to watch it again. So it looks like you can definitely use Blender in conjunction with other editing apps.
Yeah.
To create really cool scenes and videos and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with not divisible by 2 lines. I think it's mad about 1 pixel right now. Yeah, that was literally what it was. Okay, while we're talking about video making from 3D models, let's grab that iPad again. And so if you click one of the shoes, let's use the one we didn't use maybe. And if you click video at the bottom of the screen, this is a similar keyframe video maker. So like we can try to recreate a similar effect. In this case, we really only can animate the camera. So we can like get a good establishing shot of the shoe that we like. And then we will, oh sorry, I think we have to click custom.
Okay.
It has like automatic paths for us too. And then we'll move it. And it like determines how many frames in the keyframes go from each other based on what would look smooth. And we would keyframe that. And maybe we'd like orbit up or something, I don't know, to show like the inside of the shoe. Yeah. Let me just keyframe that. And then I don't know where we go. I think we get like 6 keyframes. So if we're trying to create a loop, we like make our way back by the last one.
I have no clue.
Yeah, no, we're just like making something to show it, really. That's pretty cool. And then we can press play. And so like if maybe you're starting an online store and you've got shoes to sell, maybe you don't want to like be in Blender all the time making like Marvel Cinematic Universe videos about shoes. But this is like a really nice way to show off if you've scanned an outdoor scene, you've scanned your dorm room and you want to show off different perspectives of it. You can do all that inside here. And then if you click the save button, I think that is going to create an MP4. Pretty cool. It's like lightweight. I've definitely used stuff made in that app. Like I've dropped it in Blender because everything in my life makes its way to Blender. Let's shoe video. Okay. Then in videos, that's where I exported to, and I've got a render.
Wow. Pretty cool, and we can definitely see all of the lighting.
Okay, let's go for it. We got 5 minutes. We can make the final product here. Is Premiere on this machine? I'm gonna hand it over. I imagine you're the Premiere Pro. Is that the case?
I do use Premiere Pro very often. I would say that I know much more about Premiere Pro than I do about Blender.
Okay, I'm gonna close Blender. We got our video we need. And I think all we need, I'll show, I guess, what I'm thinking here. So I'll grab this as a vector for you.
Okay.
And then I think it just needs to get overlaid.
Yeah.
All our Windows users, don't be afraid. Use Page 3D. It's okay. It's a native default piece of software. How great is this? Look at that. I was able to isolate this line. That's definitely what I was asking for. I forgot that I actually don't need to get rid of the black between these because the background we're going against is still black. Speed editing.
At least the name isn't that long.
I do like what they do with this font. As I'm looking at it, there's like little uneven lines and stuff. I feel like they actually mocked up this text rather than just using a font.
I've never seen it before.
It's fine. And then save as. And we're going to save as a PNG because we need the transparency. Need those alpha channels. 24 bits, not enough bits. Need 32 bits. Transparency. I'll try to zoom to get it as isolated as possible. Okay, handing off. It's all you.
All right, so let's use Premiere Pro. So I'm just going to create a new project. I'll call it Swoops Video. I'm not going to worry about all of the settings because for the sake of time. So I'm going to go into my media browser, and is the video saved in?
The video is in videos. the text is in downloads. Oh, this will also let us scale away from that really annoying aspect ratio as well. That extra pixel it made me add.
You said it's in video? I see all the images.
Yeah, it's the last thing, I think. It's
Okay.
named, it has a hyphen in its name. It's like 0 to 360.
0 to 360.
Yeah. If you throw a hyphen in the search bar, you might get lucky. Nope.
That's weird.
In the browser, does it give you the recently viewed files as an option? No, it doesn't.
I don't think so, yeah.
Oh, if you see, yeah, you're on your way. Yeah, it'll be the video folder beneath here, I think. Weird.
Yeah, it's not showing up in there.
Do you want to just make sure you can see it in File Explorer? So that this is a...
Here it is.
Mhm.
It says this PC/videos. Just gonna move it really quickly. Definitely.
Mind if I take a look? This might be a user profile kind of weirdness.
Am I in the wrong?
I don't know. It's there's like multiple users on this machine. It's probably. Oh, but the fact that you were seeing all the photos is like.
Yeah, so. Oh, and maybe you can take that filter off. I don't know if that's...
Oh, is it seeing it as like some other type of MPEG maybe?
Yeah, maybe the... That's the background.
It's like definitely going to be that it's some codec issue, which is annoying. Well, not everything works out. Want to just end the stream?
Yeah, let's, yeah, because I can't bring it in here, so maybe I can import it from...
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Okay, so we saw the name. There it is. Oh,
it's because it sees it as an MKV.
Yeah, I don't even know if we can bring this into, can we?
Is there VLC on this machine? VLC can convert MKVs.
Where would that be?
If you type in the search bar, VLC. Sorry, the Windows search bar.
Sorry.
That's okay.
That's definitely...
There's nothing Microsoft loves more than just like throwing an extra search bar. Yeah, I'm not downloading it. So
okay.
But yeah, what you would do, I guess, is, and we're using OBS, that's the other thing right now because we're streaming out. So OBS being our MKV converter wouldn't work.
Yeah, so if it was the right format, we could make the video, but maybe we can do that another time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I'd love to do an entire stream just about like using 3D assets and Blender assets and like post-processing them in Premiere. because like you can get lots of cool lighting from Blender, but then like making other things responsive to that in your video or making your filters work with it. Like I think that's a whole topic.
Yeah, that would be cool.
All right, want to sign off? Let's go there. We'll go to our handy camera so people can see us. Look at this production value. Incredible. Yeah, it's over here. And this camera person's done a great job holding the camera the entire stream. It's really great.
So I guess that brings us to the end of our stream. Thank you so much for joining us to scan this air swoop. Very rare. I hope that if you didn't already know about the shoe, now you have some more knowledge about it, and maybe you can go check out more about Cheryl Swoops and the line of shoes that released. There are a lot of good articles about it. Not a lot of information about the shoes in particular, but I mean, this is a shoe that was designed for a woman by a woman, so.
I didn't know that. You had a woman designer as well?
Yeah, Marnie Gerber was the designer for the shoe, and she actually followed Cheryl Swoops, like her whole entire routine to get this shoe perfected to her needs. So it's really interesting.
It's really cool. Thanks for joining us today. Use your libraries. We're here to help. Libraries Ask Us is open anytime the libraries are open. My name's Colin Keenan. You can find me at go.ncsu.edu/Colin. If you email me about stuff you're trying to make, I will respond and I will help you. Hit us up. We're here to help.